What happens when a store manager calls security on the actual owner? One man found himself humiliated before his own staff, but how he handled the situation flipped the power dynamic entirely and revealed much more than a simple mistake. Jalen Carter wasn't dressed to impress. A gray hoodie, faded jeans, worn-out sneakers. He blended in perfectly, which was exactly his intention when he visited Luxora Boutique, the store he co-owned in downtown San Jose. He wasn't there to attract attention. He was there simply to check inventory and oversee a few shipments. It was routine, something he'd quietly done for years. Stay low, keep the focus on the products, not on the owner. It was early afternoon on a quiet Tuesday. A few young professionals browsed through handbags and jackets. Jalen stood near the stockroom door, tablet in hand, cross-referencing SKUs on the shelves. He didn't notice the man watching him carefully from behind the register. "Excuse me," came a firm voice, cutting through the gentle instrumental music playing overhead. Jalen glanced up. "I'm going to need you to leave," the man stated firmly. Jalen blinked, confused. "Sorry, you don't work here, and you're making customers uncomfortable." It took Jalen a second to process. The man was about 40, white, clean-shaven, and wore a neatly pressed dress shirt with a name badge that read, "Bradley Weller, Regional Manager." That was new. "I'm actually one of the owners," Jalen replied calmly. "Just conducting some routine checks." Bradley's expression hardened. "Look, you can't just claim ownership. I don't recognize you, and I don't appreciate being lied to. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be." Jalen frowned. "I'm not lying. My name is Jalen Carter. I co-founded this boutique with Marcus Lane. I've been involved since day one." Bradley shook his head dismissively. "I was hired last month to straighten out operations in this district. I don't tolerate loitering or staff bringing friends to mess around in the stockroom." Now people were starting to notice. A woman holding a leather clutch paused mid-step. A college student near the sunglasses rack tilted his head toward the commotion. Jalen stayed composed. "Why don't you call Marcus or check the ownership registry?" "I don't need to call anyone," Bradley snapped. "Either you leave now, or I'll call security." Jalen sighed. He could feel heat rising in his face, but kept his composure. "You're making a mistake, a big one." Bradley didn't flinch. "Security is already on the way." Moments later, a mall security guard stepped in. "Sir, we're going to have to ask you to leave." Jalen lowered his voice. "I built this business. I invested the money, the vision, the sweat, and you're removing me from my own store. Sir, please don't make this difficult." Jalen glanced around. Customers were watching, whispering. One of the cashiers, a young black woman named Mia, looked as if she wanted to say something but hesitated. Bradley stood rigid, jaw clenched, eyes cold. Jalen chose to leave, not out of fear or agreement, but because confrontation would solve nothing at that moment. As he stepped into the California sunlight, his heart pounded with quiet anger. He said nothing, didn't look back, but security cameras had captured everything. Bradley had no idea whom he'd just thrown out. Long before Luxora's polished floors and custom lighting existed, there was only a scribbled dream on a crumpled piece of paper. Jalen Carter had written it down during a lunch break at his warehouse job in Modesto. At 25, tired and overlooked, he was determined. He had grown up modestly. His mother worked nights as a nurse. His father held multiple side jobs. Jalen never expected handouts, but he always noticed details. How a space could make someone feel valued and seen. After years of saving and juggling two jobs, he partnered with Marcus Lane, an old friend skilled in retail analytics. Their vision was clear, a boutique offering timeless, minimalist fashion for professionals underserved by mainstream luxury brands. No loud logos or exclusivity, just quality and respect. Marcus loved public relations, speaking at panels, and handling interviews. Jalen, however, preferred staying behind the scenes, perfecting supply chains, selecting fitting room lighting, quietly meticulous. They opened the first Luxora location in San Jose in 2019, a gamble that steadily paid off. Stores in Pasadena and Sacramento soon followed. Jalen remained the silent partner, mentoring quietly from behind the scenes. Staff recognized him, though management turnover often led to unfamiliarity with his identity. Jalen never minded until Bradley Weller had him removed. That night, sleep eluded him, not from anger, but from profound disappointment. He reflected on Bradley's certainty, his arrogance, his absolute lack of curiosity. His mother's words echoed clearly. When someone decides who you are before you speak, they aren't listening. They're narrating their own story about you. Jalen knew he had to address this, not in anger, but in principle. The next morning, he called Marcus, recounting everything. Marcus listened quietly, shocked but ready to support whatever came next. "Gather everyone," Jalen said calmly, Bradley included. Marcus agreed instantly. Later, Jalen consulted their lawyer for clarity and privately contacted Mia, asking if she'd be willing to speak up. Without hesitation, she agreed. When Jalen returned to Luxora, he wore the same humble attire, intentionally, but walked in flanked by Marcus, their lawyer Tanya Ruiz, Carlos, one of the store's longest-serving employees, and Mia. Bradley was visibly shocked as they arrived. Marcus called an immediate team meeting, leaving Bradley no room to object. Soon, the entire staff, 15 in all, were gathered quietly in the back office. Standing confidently, Jalen began speaking. "Some know me, some don't. I'm Jalen Carter. Marcus and I built this business together. Yesterday, I was treated like a stranger, thrown out of the place I helped create." He let security footage replay silently on a monitor. Everyone watched, absorbing Bradley's demeanor and Jalen's calm response. Mia bravely stood first. "I knew Mr. Carter, but I was afraid I'd lose my job if I spoke out." Others slowly echoed similar sentiments, revealing a culture of discomfort and fear under Bradley's leadership. Bradley's posture shrank with each revelation. Tanya stepped in firmly. "This isn't about blame. It's about addressing the culture and respect we uphold." Carlos spoke candidly. "We remember Jalen bringing lunch during long shifts. Bradley, you treated him, and us, like we were beneath you." The team gradually opened up, recounting experiences of feeling unseen and undervalued. Bradley finally broke his silence, admitting ignorance but acknowledging responsibility. Marcus laid out two options. Bradley could resign immediately or undergo rigorous accountability training, shadowing employees, and mandatory bias education. Bradley chose growth. He surrendered his managerial title, working under Mia and Carlos, learning from the ground up. In the weeks following, a subtle transformation took hold. Bradley embraced humility, becoming attentive and supportive. Employees felt seen, heard, valued. Jalen continued quietly overseeing operations, but no longer entirely hidden. His presence was a reminder that true leadership lies not in titles, but in genuine respect and accountability. Luxora's culture evolved, not from punishment, but from truth spoken openly and lessons sincerely learned.